This is a pure entertainment summer blockbuster, and it gets your adrenaline going. It was difficult to sleep after I saw it last night.
Hey guys, it's Amber. Welcome back to my channel. In case you didn't know, I am a huge fan of the Mission Impossible franchise. I grew up watching the films and I could not wait to see Mission Impossible Fallout. Now let's get started. The best intentions often come back to haunt you. Fallout follows Ethan Hunt after a mission goes wrong and Solomon Lane escapes custody. Ethan takes it upon himself to fulfill his original briefing, but the CIA begin to question his loyalty and his motives. As always, Ethan finds himself in a race against time, hunted by assassins and former allies whilst trying to prevent a global catastrophe.
Time pressure is incredibly important. It's shot all over the world, and yet we can feel the pressure closing in on Ethan.
The experience of making a Mission Impossible is very similar to the experience of watching a Mission Impossible. You just can't help but feel the pressure.
Fallout is the 6th installment in the Mission Impossible franchise. This is by far the best 6th film entry into a franchise. There isn't really any competition. Normally, by the 6th film in a franchise, most of the good storylines have died out, along with half of the characters. But McQuarrie made the impossible possible by directing Fallout with a new vision.
I read that you wanted to come at it as if it was a different director.
The biggest thing was I started with a completely different crew. Anybody who was affecting the look on screen or the emotional experience of the movie, I brought in new people. And then the other thing was not to rely heavily on outside influences, but to really focus on story and try to tell something from a unique point of view.
After watching Fallout, I can tell you that it's as engaging and action-packed as many original films and sequels in other franchises. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new videos every week. Instead of including one death-defying stunt sequence, as is standard for all of the Mission Impossible films, this time they decided to have several, each more impressive than the last. So let's break down the main stunt sequences. First of all, we have the halo jump. This is the high altitude, low opening skydiving jump which has never been performed before on camera. Tom Cruise's character, Ethan Hunt, and Henry Cavill's character, August Walker, jump out of a plane at 25,000 feet above Paris. To rehearse this stunt, the production team built the world's largest vertical wind tunnel. At 25,000 feet, you can end up with a lack of oxygen called hypoxia, which makes you feel euphoric, but it can be fatal. Tom and Henry needed oxygen helmets for this scene, but standard helmets completely cover the face, so new oxygen masks were made by the props department as this had never been done before on camera. Tom and the director decided that they wanted the halo jump to be filmed at dusk, meaning that they only had 4 minutes each day to get this shot. Tom would do 7 or 8 practice jumps throughout the day and then one final jump at dusk. What makes this stunt sequence even crazier is the cameraman. The cameraman actually jumped out of the plane at 25,000 feet alongside Tom with a 20-pound IMAX camera strapped to his head, which he had to manually focus without having a viewfinder. This stunt really took it to the next level. They filmed over 100 takes for the halo jump, with only 3 of them being deemed usable. The take that made it into the film is just incredible and one of the best moments from the film. Next, we have the high-speed chase through Paris. This chase sequence involves shutting down some of the most popular tourist destinations in Paris, including the Arc de Triomphe and the Avenue de l'Opéra, leading up to the Grand Opera itself. The Fallout team only had access to the Arc de Triomphe for 2 hours from 6 AM one Sunday morning, so there was no time for something to go wrong. In this scene, there were 70 cars driven by stuntmen trying to avoid Tom riding a motorcycle against the traffic at high speed with no helmet on. Then the chase moves on to a vintage BMW M5 sedan, and finally the helicopter scene. This scene starts with Tom climbing up a rope attached to a helicopter flying at 2,000 feet. He then free falls 40 feet onto the payload. This stunt had been in the design and planning process for over 2 years. It's one of the riskiest stunts that they've done to date. For the helicopter scene, Tom became an expert pilot so that he could fly the helicopter by himself without a single other person on board. There were only a few cameras rigged to the interior of the helicopter so that you could see it was truly him flying. For part of this sequence, he learned how to do a 360-degree downward spiral dive in mountainous terrain. Most pilots would never dare to do this. It's too risky. One wrong move and you're dead. But this is Tom Cruise that we're talking about. This is the guy who hung off the Burj Khalifa with just a couple of cables attaching him to the building, and the guy who strapped himself with just a body harness to the outside of an Airbus 400 as it took off and climbed to 5,000 feet. When we take these death-defying stunts into consideration, it was really surprising when Tom broke his ankle during a relatively simple foot chase across the rooftops of London. Tom broke his ankle on the first take. It was the only take that they had, and they used it in the final cut. When he jumped, he collided with a building, broke his ankle, but he pulled himself up and carried on running until he was off camera because he knew that was the only take that they were going to get. He's pretty dedicated. They found out that Tom had actually shattered the lower part of the ankle, and it was going to take 9 months to heal. With 10 to 12 hours of intensive therapy and training each day, Tom was back on set within 6 weeks.
One of the reasons why the Mission Impossible franchise is so popular is the incredible stunts. How was it working with Tom to make not just one death-defying stunt in this film, but several?
It wasn't until the whole movie was put together that we realized just how many stunts we had. There were so many we had to cut one out.
Now let's talk about the cast and the director. Christopher McQuarrie is the only person ever to direct 2 Mission Impossible films. Fallout sees our favourite members of the IMF return to action, along with Solomon Lane. We also see a surprise appearance from Julia, but no spoilers, you'll have to watch the film to find out what happens. New characters include the White Widow, played by Vanessa Kirby, August Walker, played by Henry Cavill, and Erica Sloane, played by Angela Bassett.
You play Walker in the film. Can you tell me a little bit more about your character?
August Walker is a member of the CIA, and he is the CIA's go-to guy for killing people. If you absolutely need someone dead and no one else has achieved it, you call August Walker and he will kill them.
You play White Widow. Can you tell me a little bit more about your character?
She is a sort of elusive, mysterious, unsettling presence who is dangerous and you're not really sure what side she's on.
You play Erica in the film.
Erica Sloane was the assistant deputy director of the CIA, and now that Hundley has moved over to the IMF, she has moved up into that position of power, and she has really taken to it.
As if being producer and director isn't enough, McQuarrie also wrote the film. When he wrote the script, he added a great amount of comedy to what is otherwise an incredibly tense situation.
Which way, Betty? Turn left! Go, 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 go! What are you waiting for? I'm jumping out a window! Oh, sorry. Good luck.
At the end of the helicopter stunt sequence, something happens. It is just so Mission Impossible, and he's made it really funny and nerve-wrenching, and it just really works. So how would I summarize Mission Impossible Fallout in a couple of sentences? Fallout really focuses on actors completing death-defying stunts instead of relying on wires in front of green screens. This is one of the reasons why this is the best action film that I have ever seen. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment what film you'd like me to review next, and also subscribe and turn on notifications for new videos every week. See you next time.